Kia ora everybody, welcome along to the League in Order podcast. The full crew is back, and then there were four. Not on the show necessarily, then there were four teams left in the NRL. Welcome everybody along. First of all, Lavina, who joins us on location, back at home, I see. No more beaching.
Back to school today, mate. Back at home, back in Tauranga. The heart of the bay, plenty. The sun is shining.
Wonderful times. Kempy, look at you with your big happy face and you know Newcastle in the playoffs and your cigar.
Mate, I'll tell you what, you missed me. Geez, if only we could record the prelims. Must have been a boring 2 weeks when I was away.
It was. It was
we
boring.
Did miss you.
We missed you a lot, and Aish was handing out tips like nobody's business, left, right and centre, losing everybody's money. Blake Ashford, always a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Your fault for listening.
No, but I say it now. There are four teams left. Let me just throw this one out there just to begin with. Do we think that the four teams that are left in the finals deserve to be there? Are they the most deserving of the teams that we've seen so far this season?
I think the first two are there. Definitely. I think the first three teams with South in there are the teams with the three best hookers. Like we picked.
Oh, you did say that.
And I think those three teams, two of them will be in the final because they've got the two best hookers on. I don't know if Souths can actually turn Penrith over. The thing that's going against Penrith this week is no kick out. So that's for me brings Souths right back into the game. And I think Melbourne-Canberra is set up. That's a final in itself, mate, because it's going to be a battle. Two big forward packs, way that Tapine and Papali played in the weekend. I can't wait for that one. I think it's going to be another tough one too. And Jack White, mate, if he doesn't play 5'8" for New South Wales this year and Aussie,
rocks in
if
their
Aussie
heads.
were playing,
And you watch.
Rocks in their heads.
You watch, you won't.
Carey should be halfback. They should throw Carey. I know they'll probably go with Cleary instead of Carey at halfback. But Carey's more of a halfback than a 5'8", especially if Jack White's playing. He's the best 5'8" we've got in the world at the moment.
100%.
Can I just quickly touch on something before you guys, everyone else talks and says whether or not these four teams should be deserving to be there? Is the hooker then, Kempy, is the hooker the quarterback now? Is that the most important position in rugby league with the changes to the rules and how this game's been flowing?
Look, about 10 years ago I got asked about hookers and I made a real simple statement. You weren't living in Papamoa then, and thank God you weren't living in Ponsonby, Lavina. But yeah, I got asked about number nines. Let's put it that way, number nines. And
Try and turn that one dirty, Lavina.
I simply said, the guys touch the ball the most, so they are your key. They are the key to how well your team's going to go. And if you just watch Cameron Smith and the way he's played over 14 decades, he sets his team up to be in the game most of the time. So I don't think your 7 is your key player. I don't think your 6 or your 1 are your key player. I think if you haven't got a decent 9, especially with the way that they've changed the rules this year, you're just not in the game. And you have a look at the teams that got knocked out over the last 2 weeks. They're pretty average 9s.
True. Aish, are we thinking that the top four teams are the top four teams?
You can't say they're not. They're there. Like I
You
said, I've
would've said the
backed.
Roosters,
Yeah, I
mate.
would have. But obviously they weren't good enough to get there. They lost to Penrith. They lost to the Raiders. So these four teams, you can question them. You can look at a piece of paper and see the two lineups, and there's probably other teams with better lineups on paper. But when it's all said and done, they're not there.
They're not there,
So
mate.
these are the best four.
Neither is the money in my TAB account. Lavina.
It is, actually. It is. Thanks to White and Tedesco.
Is Lavina still bitter, mate, is she?
Yeah, Lavina, do the Eels deserve to be in the final for us? I mean, it's up to you.
I feel sorry for the Eels. I mean, it was one of those seasons I was thinking about writing a poem, and I just couldn't get over that kick from Moses. I'm like, geez, you kick 11 in a row, and then you finally hit the post, and then they score a try against us. So I was all bitter over that. But at the start of the year, the Eels, after coming last in 2018, and then they won a few games against some teams that were not that great, and then led the table for a while in a very strange season. It's been a very strange season, I think, for everyone. I actually don't think Marnie played too bad, who was the Eels hooker. I don't think he's had a poor season at all. But they were just too one-dimensional in their attack, and it was predictable after a while. Even when they got a lead, they never looked like that they could, nullify a Bunny side that was so good. So even though my heart's saying I wish that they would have made it through, and they didn't play too bad in the first half, there's no doubt the Bunnies deserve that final place. And I really loved the Raiders game. I thought the Raiders were sensational, not just for that try by Tapani, which was incredible. I loved that try, or not just the fact that Josh Papali is probably the best prop in the competition, but I really like their young hooker, Starling. I think he's amazing. And on the back of what Kempy said at the start of the year, that we've got to keep an eye out on these number 9s because they'll carry the teams forward. He's just this little nuggety, fast, beautiful delivery kind of number 9. He just passes the ball impeccably accurate. It's amazing how accurate his passing is. And it's a player like that that can fly under the radar and help a side continue in the comp. So I think both those teams are deserving of making it through. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders could go one more, to be brutally honest. They've got a good track record against the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah, well, let's touch on that, the past weekend's semis action. And you just talking about the Raiders shootout, get out the gates early, 16-point lead. Roosters fight back, bring it a little closer, a little too late, and the final score 22-18. Raiders take it out. Mad Monday for the Roosters, gentlemen. Mad Monday. That's all they deserve. Aish, after saying to us on numerous occasions, never lose faith in the Roosters, they will now be drinking beers. The Raiders to face the Storm.
They'll drink Verve Cliquet. They'll drink Verve Cliquet, mate.
They're high end. Raiders face the Storm, 9:50 p.m. Friday night, prelim final number 1. That game, that Raiders forward pack, they came out at someone was whacking them with sticks in the changing room because they came out angry. That was one of those times where you're just like that. Wow, how do you get on top of them now?
I don't like. That's the thing that they've got to find the balance because Papali, we all agree, best front rower in the world. Tapani is amazing. We all agree there. But when they went off, they sort of dipped in the game. And that's when the Roosters at back 10, 15 of that first half started to come on.
Very lucky.
Yeah, but for them to start the game, they were amazing. They were outstanding. But a thing that I just wanted to bring up that with the game, something you always bring up, Kempy, about Jazz, reputation, gives away a lot of penalties. Now, Hargraves, they were 2 very soft penalties for finals footy. I don't think either were deserved. And I think that reputation killed the Roosters that first 20 minutes because with those 2 penalties, they went down and Tapani scored and then they scored the other, Papali scored. Off 2 of Hargraves, one was wasn't really late and wasn't really high and he gave the penalty. And the other one wasn't high. I think reputation killed the Roosters the first 20.
Yeah, look, and I think the coaches are smart too. You know, like if you read through the prelims last week, they're talking about this referee, Klein, and the way that he refereed the Roosters, the amount of times they'd won under him, and the amount of times the Canberra Raiders had lost under him, and Ricky Stewart getting into him about being consistent and stuff like that. You know, it does play. I've always said this. You know, you'd be doing your homework on the referee that you got. You know, if you were in the finals, you'd be doing your homework on the referee you got because there's little quirks in their style that is going to play a big part in turn games for them and momentum swings for them. And I thought I saw that on the weekend when Sydney City were playing Canberra. Canberra got the rub of the green. Not only did they play well, but they got the rub of the green on a lot of play and got out to that 16-6 start. I don't know how they didn't give. They gave the second try to Joseph Manu and they didn't give the first one. You know what I mean? So I just, the clunker was, Marc, get rid of that. If they don't get rid of that this year, let's get rid of that stupid thing that they go to up there. The one thing is they waste time. It takes us back to rugby union. It's a 4-minute scrum. We have a 4-minute clunker. But you can make that decision really quickly if you put the right person up there and didn't just get on with a football game because it stops momentum. And
I just want to hit on that because with the bunker, so about those head highs, reputation, and then we seen Morris go over in the corner and Nuck, I don't think Chance, that wasn't a head high, but that was exactly similar to what Hargraves did, and he didn't even review it. He didn't go to the bunker. He made the call. But then, when the Roosters did score that, they didn't score the next try, but Kira was offside, and it was going to be a reset. So obviously there was no try, and he went to the bunker. But there was no try. No one put the ball down. No one was awarded anything, and he went to the bunker to check. So you make a call with the one before, you got to make a call then.
And the thing with it is it's momentum. You know, it just takes the whole momentum back out of the game. You know, and coaches are really smart with that. You know, we saw that a few years ago where you just kicked the ball dead.
Yeah.
Don't worry about kicking it down and making it a, you know, you hear Matty Johns talking on his podcast, you know, you go to 40 and you have a kick here, and you go to 50, you have a kick here. And well, back in those days when the rules were that way, you just kick it dead and reset. You know what I mean? I think that's what happens with a clunker. It takes momentum away, and in the finals, we just want free-flowing football, mate. Get the best referees there. Our coaches are smart, mate. I just think Ricky Stewart at the moment's outsmarted them.
Yep.
Defensively, it's interesting you mentioned that tackle on Chance Nickel Clockstad. I thought he made 2 or 3 of those tackles, and it's amazing when you've got a forward or a prop that can make so many yards and lifts a team, and a try can lift a team. But when you've got someone like that who saves 3 tries, 3 try-saving tackles, you can imagine how that lifts a team in a final as well. I thought defensively, the backs for the Raiders played really, really well. And some of those try-saving tackles and the fact that they moved up in a line and put loads of pressure on the Roosters, which they weren't used to, especially when Keary was off, when he came off with the head injury. It was amazing how some of the defence from the Raiders lifted the side as opposed to just their attacking play, which often lifts them. I was impressed with it.
Yeah, he's a big loss, Kerry. You've got to take it into context. You know, you got their hooker there, doesn't play most of the year. He's in and out all the time, and you know, you got Flanagan at halfback that's being dropped mid-season, finding his way, and Tedesco carrying the side for most of those games and scoring points, and then you lose Kerry. You know what I mean? It's mate, 16 point. They would have lost Kerry, and the Canberra Raiders grew another 10 feet. And went, right, now see if you can hold us, you know what I mean? The way that they're so direct.
He missed the tackle on Tapane, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they're so direct, like, come on. Yeah, it's not that they're playing. What I really like about Canberra is the old style. They challenge you when they carry the football. They say, rightio, you might want to tackle us, but let's see if you can do it for 80 minutes of the football game.
It's like they got Pongi and bloody Wiki out there again.
Well, it's the Canberra way, mate. It's the old way that Ricky, when you look at the grand final they won against us in 2002, it was the same thing, mate. It was just a challenge. We had big forwards and big backs, and it was just a battle. And when Villa goes and takes Freddie's head off, Adrian Morley steps up and says, well, that was a bit unfair, and comes out and kills us on the next play. You know what I mean? And then our boys, it puts them in shock, So I just think Canberra set up for finals footy. Whether they can carry it on against Melbourne, who Asefa runs out, what I mean? Bromwich runs out, Tino runs out. It's like, hey boys, we're going to have a battle this week.
And that's my point with the Papali Tapani. So they're there for 30 minutes, and then they go off. The Storm have Bromwich and then you bring on Nelson, Tino. They've got the bench.
And you have that smart bloke at number 9 going, go there. He's done. Go there, and you finally get him. And I think you're going to need more than 16 points to beat. To beat Melbourne. Yeah. You're going to need more than 16 points because Smith is going to get you across the line a few times this weekend.
We're going to look at the second game and, of course, shed some tears for Lavina's Parramatta team who bow out. They also joined the Mad Monday celebrations. But something you said earlier, Kempy, took my attention. The idea that you have to prep for referees, considering a referee is supposed to rule on, he's got his rule book and it should all be really consistent. You shouldn't be... That seems odd to me that you're needing to prep for referees. Is this one of the few, I guess, sports in the world where this has to happen?
Mate, coaches prep for referees right at the preseason. They invite them to training sessions. They start building rapport with referees right at the beginning of the year, and they don't ask the good referee to come along. They ask the one that they're having a bad time with. So they
Is that strange, though? I feel like we're all conditioned to it. That's just how it is. But shouldn't referees be refereeing the same way consistently throughout the entire league? Personalities shouldn't matter.
But that's my point. They referee the same way against the teams that they want to make it. To make them referee a different way against them. If you look at the statistics against Sydney City and Canberra, when Klein refereed Sydney City and Canberra, the majority of his decisions were going to Sydney City, and Ricky was into him. Ricky was. It's the mind games. I don't know if you've read yesterday's comment from Wayne Bennett. He's thrown Penrith. He's thrown Ivan one straight away, mate.
Did he say he hasn't done much watching of the...
I haven't even seen him.
Haven't even seen him play, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the mind... It's the
arrogance.
Well, it's not arrogance. But did you read the other comment he made? He said, I made an error last year. He said, when they had a break, we flogged them and they ran out of steam at the back end of the year.
Yeah.
He said, this year we didn't do that. That's what Parramatta did. So don't take it away from the smart coaches. Have a look at the hookers, have a look at the coaches.
Yeah.
But also the refs, like they do, all the players, every team does.
I understand.
Every team does video, right?
Yeah.
These referees, they get paid some $300,000 They do a full preseason. They study video, and that's what I meant by reputation on Hargreaves, because his reputation is, like we said when we spoke to Jazz, mongrel. So he's going out there and he's trying to be the enforcer. And that's why I said they
And he
weren't.
had a bad game after that too.
Yeah, but they weren't high shots.
Average.
Like, it's a finals game. They're
Absolutely.
not. They're
So
not
the
high
reputation
shots.
has preceded him, and it's
Because
he's
it was
paid the
him.
price for it.
Because
Yeah.
it was him. If it was another forward in that pack, I don't think they're penalties.
Probably would have got a second chance. Probably would have had a different look at it.
And you
differently.
hear that all the time. You hear coaches saying, I've seen the same play happen to that bloke, 10 times, and you don't get a penalty. And this guy goes and does it and go, mate, ref, Blake's he's dead right. When they go into games, they know who they're going to target, the referees.
Which is terrible. Like, that's hard enough to win a
Unfortunately, that's just
game
the
of
way it
the
is.
NRL. It's hard enough to win a game against these. It's so competitive. Now we're having to prep for the referees, or it's still happening that we're having to prep for the referees. Doesn't that ring any alarm bells that the referee is now a part of the game, that you have to play a certain way to get on the right side of him?
Well,
like, it's hard
let's
enough
go
to
back-
win anyways.
Let's go back 12 months. Yeah, let's go back 12 months. Canberra are in the 20, and they've got a reset call from a referee
Yep.
on TV, shaking his hand. Jack Whiten's with the ball, jumps up and plays the football, and the guy says, "No, that was the last tackle handed over." Are you saying that referees don't play a big part in the game?
Oh, no, I'm
That-
not saying they do.
That momentum
the
on the
grand
next
final.
set of 6 wins them the grand final.
Absolutely, but that's a mistake that was made during the game. That was a genuine mistake that he made during the game. He wasn't doing it because
What
he had
about
done
the first
hours
one?
and hours
What about
of
the
prep.
first one when the ball was charged down and hits the referee, calls it back?
Again, mistakes being called. They're not doing it on purpose. These are mistakes, I would like to think. But when you have to play your game a certain way simply because you've got a certain referee, that to me is troublesome. That to me means that there's more at play here now than just one good rugby league team versus another good rugby league team going head to head and trying to win a rugby league game.
You
now
must
they
have
have
a
to play a
bloke.
certain way.
You must have a bloke at school that you don't like. They probably punched you in the nose because it's so big.
I'm not going to name him, but yes.
Yeah, and you're probably going to meet him again one day. Or
I have
you
met him again. It
And
was
how
at
did you
Pack and
feel?
Save.
And how did you feel about that guy?
I was still a little intimidated by him, waiting
yeah.
for that. My nose. I actually covered my nose.
So
my big nose.
Ricky Stewart in 2008 called him a cheating, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you think that neither of those two have history that they ain't going to carry on the football
Oh,
field? The
totally.
smart-
But Ricky to me.
Ricky Dunham, mate. Ricky Dunham last week, he was that smart. He said to him, "You were favouring Sydney City, now even it up." He got into his head, mate.
And I
That's what
like
happened.
that. The only thing is that I just don't think referees should have that power. They should be simply adjudicating which way the call should go and watching.
What Blake's saying, if that was Luke Keary who did those 2 tackles instead of Jared Warrior-Hargreaves, the penalties probably wouldn't have been given, and it would have had a massive impact on that game.
Totally.
I get what he's saying about that. If it was a little back and not a rat bag forward that has a reputation, who went on to have a very anonymous match. To be fair, he was totally outplayed by the opposition.
He was a speed
So I'm not
bump.
going to say he would have had a great game, but at that stage he probably thought, shit, I've given away 2 penalties and we're trailing by 12. It's not looking good. I'm going to have to tone something down because of his reputation. Is it our fault or is it his fault? Who knows? But the referees can't they have no option to bring that into the game. It's not fair. It's
Probably-
not fair on finals footy. It's not fair on us.
No, absolutely.
And I
We
don't
want
want to
see
take
the
it
best
away.
players.
There's a good Raiders win. I don't want to take away the
No.
gloss off the Raiders win.
Well done, the Raiders.
I'm here to say sorry
Yeah, they
for
played
everyone
great.
that picked the
deserve to win.
Roosters.
They
were
deserve
great.
to win that.
It was interesting, probably a good time to bring up the fact that we did have Jazz Tavanga on last week on the League and Order show, and Jazz was very open about the fact that when he got the yellow card, that he hung his head down, he went into the locker room and he said, "Shit, sorry, Toddy," and Toddy looked at him and just said, "No, fuck, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Keep doing what you're doing," which gave me 2 things I thought of. One was Toddy's obviously a great coach who empowers his players and makes sure that they still have the confidence when he runs back out there, that he'll go straight back to what he was doing. And 2, that enforcer role, that reputation, that kind of intimidator
You need
guy,
someone.
you need someone doing it, but the delicate balance between getting it right and getting it wrong is so paper thin that you're going to need a smart someone to be doing it so that they don't lose the plot on many occasions. In fact, Jazz did say to us that Monty Beetham gave him a call and said, "I want to have a word with you when you get home." That was a role that I had to play within the team, and it did me more harm than good. So let's work on how to get that balance correct. So it was a
good.
big insider. We've done it long enough now. We've avoided the situation for long enough. Lavina, Saturday night was the last time you will see the Eels for your 2020 season.
Sad.
Sorry, losing 38-24 to the Rabbitohs, leading 18-8 at half time. Gutherson was killing it.
Good. I thought we were pretty good. I honestly did, and I was really happy for Gutho because I mean, if you call out your top 5 fullbacks in the competition, he's really there, and he's taken on a club that cheated a few years ago and then came last in 2018 and was handled kind of throughout that Jared Hayne kind of period and came out the other end. And I think him and Brad Arthur have worked really hard to get a decent sports culture at the Parramatta Eels, and all we've craved for
And a
is
good
to have
supplement
heyday back
program.
in the 80s. It's all we wanted was our heyday back in the 80s.
Let her
Not
just
gonna
finish,
happen.
mate.
I thought they did well in the first half, but they ran out of gas. And I'm not saying that they should have won, but they still made me proud as a club. I just don't know moving forward if they've got all the right components in the right place. I mean, the Moses kick just killed me, absolutely, especially with the try afterwards. But it was more the attitude in the second half to let the mistakes creep in and let the opposition dominate you that way. I'm still proud of the Eels and what they've done this year. I'm a devoted Eels fan. I always will be. I just have always been in the Brad Arthur corner, and I've always thought that he was the right man for the job. But I guess when I compare him to other coaches in the competition, like Kempy compares number 9s throughout the competition, is he the right man for the job moving forward for the Eels? At this stage, I think maybe the option would be there to have a look around and see if there's anyone else that's interested to take over the reins. That's where I'm at with Parramatta at the moment.
I find
New
it pretty
coach, mate.
tough.
New coach.
You had your backs up against the wall right from the very beginning, simply on the backs of the ring-ins and changes that were needed. And I mean, that's tough. It's tough enough to win a finals footy game, and then all of a sudden you're calling on people who you probably shouldn't be having to call on at that time of the season. But Kempy
No
was
Sevo. No Sevo was a kick in the guts, first of all.
Ferguson.
And then, Jennings to come out on the juice the day of the final. That's great timing. Thanks, Mike. You're amazing for that. All that sort of stuff must play on the minds of the players. And I know Brad Arthur came out and said it's not going to have an impact and it won't take its toll. But you're kidding. That's, your backline, half of it decimated for a final going in. So, I mean, that was not good for them. But yeah, as they move forward, they'll have to make some changes if they want to make it the next step. They finished 3rd on the ladder, and they should still be here now. They shouldn't have let a side that came 6th head through to another finals game. So they'll be disappointed with that. And I dare say they will be on the Raz heavily today.
They
hooking up with the
will
Roosters.
be. I think the writing was on the wall for Parramatta a few weeks ago. I think they peaked too early and they were going downhill and hanging on by the proverbial shred. But Cutho playing that first 40 minutes and getting them out, put them in a bit of a false state of security in that second half. Because you knew that Souths were actually going to come out and just try and pile on points like they had been doing over the last 4 weeks, scoring the most points in the competition. They had plenty in them, and Damien Cook comes out and that last try that he scored was first class. So I just think they right from the beginning they lost Ferguson, Sevo, they lost their back 3, they lost the start to the set. You bring in 2 young kids, and Jennings, although he played well for the Warriors, the other young kid, what a game to enter in as a debut. The pressure.
Yeah. He's from Rotorua, that boy. He's from Vegas.
It's like it's a dream come true. But geez, the cauldron, talk about throwing him in the deep end. And I just thought that South Sydney had points in them. Like if you're going to beat them, you had to score 40 points to beat them. Because they're going to score 40 points. They've shown us that in form. If you're picking Group 1 horses, they've been winning Group 1 races for the last 4 weeks. So they just didn't have that backline. Lavina's right. They didn't have the start to their set. And although they had Gerard Polo in the forwards, Lane had a night to forget. Madison was okay. And Mahoney and the dude on the back of the scrum, they're tough as teak, but they just didn't have it at the right time of the year. I think Bennett hit the nail on the head.
They ran out of gas.
That's exactly right.
They
And I think that's what Bennett said. Bennett said they just, they'll learn from this because they were on the down. And we saw that probably 5 weeks ago. They weren't peaking for the finals. And this is what Melbourne and Sydney City and the good coaches, this is what they know. That it's getting through the season, but peaking, not going down.
Isn't that amazing? Like from a Warriors standpoint, as a Warriors fan, hearing that people are saving shit till they actually get till the 8 starts and get into the semis, like that's incredible to think of. Like we just battle to try and make the 8.
Mate, I watched a really good game the other day that Blake played in 2010, which was the extra time where they should have won it. They got the ball back from a scrum, the last play of the game, and Frank Paul Nuasala jumps on that ball and Braithen Astor kicks that field goal, taking an extra time.
Still hurts, doesn't it, Ash?
Yeah, Blake played all right that day. But I'll say this, when you're playing in finals football, it ain't club football, mate. It ain't the season. It goes to another level. You know, and if you aren't ready for it and you're playing club football when you get to the finals, you're out. You're like Newcastle, you're out the first week. And if you're still on the down, like Parramatta, you're out the second week. You've got to be going up.
Yeah.
You can't be going down. And I think what we get this week is we get like I think Canberra-Melbourne is a grand final.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I think the Souths and Penrith, the two teams that can put points on, because I think what happens with Penrith is they score points and then they cruise.
Yeah.
Because they know they're home.
They won't be able to take their foot off the gas this week.
Mate, they won't be able to take their foot off the gas against Souths because they're going to score 40.
I was happy with the last 2 weeks from Parramatta in a sense that both their games, semi-finals games they've played have been my favourite both weekends. I loved every bit of the footy in the sense that it wasn't too structured. Both sides were offloading, playing eyes up footy, and that's when Gutho's at his best. And we seen it that first half. They had every excuse not to turn up and get 50 put on them and not score a point. But with the way things went that day, if I was a Para fan, I'd be proud of the players that went out there and gave everything and put, for a bit there, 40 minutes, we thought Para might actually come away and steal this. Like Kempy said, we knew South were going to come back, but the players that they had there, and this when I went back to the Raiders pack, when Paulo and Regan Campbell-Gillard go off, Parramatta don't have that second sort
dog.
Of that other forward like Paulo. He deserved his New South Wales spot. I hope he gets picked number 8. He's up. He just behind Papali. I think the season he's had, he's been outstanding and sort of put him on his back a bit for a lot of the season. I think that's where they've got to improve next year, getting some people off the bench that when those two big boys go off, that the momentum doesn't stop. But I would be proud if I was an Eels fan. Lavina, they turned up, they gave it all, they played some interesting footy for 40. They just weren't good enough in the end.
I remember you saying last week that they need to be off the cuff a bit, like not to be so regimented like what they were the week before. And when they were playing, I thought of you, because I thought that they were, just kind of playing inspirational kind of responsive rugby league, which was great for us to watch. And I also wanted to ask you, Blake, and I've just thought of this the last couple of minutes, but we're talking about how hard these two games were, and like the Raiders and the Buddies have had full-on games this week, and they'll play Melbourne and Penrith next week. And in the back of my mind, often I've thought having that week off is not always great for a team because it's almost like that momentum that we're talking about is lost and lost and lost. But as a player, how valuable is it to these teams to have that week off for recovery for the next game? Like, are the Panthers and the Storm going to be in a better position because these other two teams have given it everything and have, been battered and bruised for the week? Or, in a way, have they taken their foot off the pedal? I never know because I don't play. So.
It's interesting. You see, so for Penrith, I think they would have liked to keep going. I think this could hurt Penrith in a way because they've won so many in a row, played every week during the season, no buys. And then this is sort of their bye, and they don't have any injuries to sort of everyone's carrying little niggles, but they don't have a serious injury. With the Storm, I think this could help them because I think they did have a couple of injuries. And when you look at the players that they've got, Cameron Smith, they're not going to get up. They will get up for this game. There's no way that they're not going to get up for this game. So for these other teams, I don't know. I haven't seen the injuries through Souths or the Raiders, but for some teams it helps. But for Penrith, I think it might hurt them. Yeah,
Souths have got their back row. The left edge players carrying that knee injury on the weekend. I think that Melbourne needed the week off. Munster giving Munster 2 weeks is critical. Giving Cameron Smith a week off and his old bones another week to recover is critical. So Bellyache would have said, we need this week off, boys. I know Cameron, when Cameron goes out there, the way that he's got the team playing, we're going to be right in this and a chance of the grand final. And I think Penrith, it's not about the week off, it's losing Kickout. I think Kickout's 50% of their team. Like, they have so much confidence when they throw that kid the ball. Like I said, I've said it reminds me of Ali Lautiti on the left edge for the Warriors in 2002. And you had that kid out there, and every time he got the ball, the whole place went, whoa, what's going to happen? And then it's not that he got tackled, it's what went after it. You know what I mean? It's the things that came after it, because everyone sort of grew another leg. And I honestly think Souths are a chance. I think they're right in the game with Kickout out.
And so do I. And that's why didn't like the week off for Penrith because either way, Kickour's missing a week. So he either misses it if they don't, but I would have liked them just to go straight back. Like I think they would have just kept playing. You know, they've won so many in a row that I think they're just used to it. Now this week, this bye that no other team has had,
That's right.
I think could hurt them.
It's just, the thing too with a bye, and you just get the feeling, don't you, as rugby league fans, that Melbourne Storm will take the bye and do something with it because they're so experienced at this time of the season. They're the type of team that will make sure that a bye works for them. Then there's every other team, and you're not quite sure whether it's like giving me a super bike. Like you can give me a great big motorbike, but I'm not going to use it well. You know, it's going to end in tears.
Yeah, you've been riding here on a moped and you show up on a Harley Davidson. You hear stories. The best way to account for that is to listen to the old stories, how people just changed everything when they got to the finals series because they thought they needed to when they didn't. Yep. You know what I mean? And I think it's the teams that know the finals the best. Bennett, he won 7 premierships?
Totally. He'd do something good with a super bike.
You know what I mean? Bellamy, how many has he won? 6 premierships.
He'd also be good.
You know?
Just really quickly before we move on to the finals, I just wanted to address something with you, and I'm interested in your guys' opinion. I couldn't help but notice since the Roosters first decided to make that decision to bring Sonny Bill Williams into their camp that they hadn't played brilliant rugby league. And it was once Sonny Bill came in, at the time I was surprised that Trent Robinson was keen to go there because they were looking so good before that. And then he came into the camp, and this is not an indictment on Sonny Bill at all. I think he's a great player, and I know he would bring fabulous team unity. But I don't know if his addition was that great now, looking back for the Roosters. And I wonder if Trent Robinson had his time again, if he would invest so much time, energy, and maybe a little bit of money into changing what was working so perfectly for the Roosters at that stage.
Sounds like you're hating on Sonny Bill, Lavina. This sounds like you're blaming this season on him.
It was a bad decision by the Roosters to bring him in at that stage of the competition where they weren't losing games and they weren't looking like an old, tired team. And as soon as Sonny Bill came in, I started to think the Roosters are playing like a team that is slightly aging. And they looked like that when Keary came off at the weekend. And you've got Jared, who's given away penalties left, right and centre, but then struggled to get online defensively. And then the twins either side are 34 years of age. I think they started to look a bit tired. And I can't help it. If Trent had his time again, would he invest that much time and energy into bringing Sonny Bill into an environment and a culture that was already working perfectly fine? Because once he came, it unravelled.
So in short, Sonny Bill cost them the season. I hear what you're saying there, Lavina.
I just have to totally disagree with that. I personally, I think this shows just how smart Trent Robinson is. I think you're right. There's a couple of points that you are right on. I think he realised that his team were old and they needed a lift. And it
Did
just
he lift them? Did he lift them?
Well, I think he did. Personally, I think he did because he never played a hell of a lot of footy. Yeah, that's right. He wasn't brought in for the footy. He was brought in to give them hopefully.
But it didn't work, mate. They're not in the finals. I totally disagree with you. Absolutely, 100%.
Yep.
I don't know how he lifted that side. I can't see how he lifted that side. He hardly played.
Not only are you wrong about Parramatta, but you are definitely wrong about Sonny Bill Williams. They didn't buy him to win a grand final. They bought him to lift the team to take them to a grand final. But it didn't work. It didn't work. Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is that this goes to show you the smarts of Trent Robinson. He identified it before they made it their run to the final, and he was trying to get them on a three-peat. What it has done now is it's confirmed to him that he's going to have to change his roster. That's what it's done. There won't be Sonny Bill Williams there next year. But I guarantee you right now, there's going to be a few others missing as well.
For me, I think we're all looking over the big picture about that game. It wasn't Sonny, because if you look at the bench, I think Tupanua needed more time. I think Sonny Bill's a better player than Nat Butcher. The one they really missed was Lindsay Collins. So if you go back to the Penrith game, Lindsay Collins played 50, 60 minutes, or 50 minutes. Hargraves only played 30. They didn't have that front row to come off the bench. Takiaho got injured. So to put it on Sonny Bill, that game, I thought
I'm not saying he lost the game for them. I'm not even referring to the game. I'm saying they didn't need to bring him into this unit that was working perfectly until he came along.
And I'm saying they weren't playing that perfectly because they dipped in the middle of that season. They lost a couple. Remember, they lost to the Rays at SCG. They lost a couple of games. They were only beating teams by 10 points. They beat the Warriors by 10 or 12, Gold Coast by 10 or 12. And then they brought him in, and you've seen he slowly started to get better, and he did have that injury the last round. But if you're going on a team, I'd rather have him in my team and everyone look around and go, oh, look, that's Sonny Bill, instead of not saying anything about Nat Butcher, good player, but I think I'd rather have Sonny Bill in my 17 than him.
And I think Angus Crichton
Yeah, I
grew.
bet they
I think
signed
Angus
Butcher
Crichton
before
grew
he
another
fixed
leg. You know what I mean? With Sonny in the side, and you're right. I think they identified it a long time before the finals kicked off that they needed something else, and it just so happened that he was on the market, and they got him in there to try and give them the spark, you know. And they were always heading that way. Their hooker never played most of the season. You know what I mean? They lost their best back row for the season.
Yep.
And then they were playing scratchy footy all year, you know. So it just, you know, I think what Robinson's done is he's gone, well, I know that I've carried this team. We've won
Scratchy
2 grand
footy.
finals to win 3 is
They
pretty
were playing
tough.
scratchy footy. I remember both you guys saying there's no team that can beat the Roosters.
Yeah, that
They're gonna
was-
go all the way to the
that
grand
was
final.
about-
Both of you said that.
Yeah, I did. I said it early.
That was at the
I said
beginning
it
of the
early,
year.
the beginning
That's
of the year
right.
before they lost
Yeah.
Radley,
Yeah.
Verrills, and the others. Like if they had Radley, they don't sign.
Radley was a big loss.
If they had Radley,
him,
they don't sign
him.
Sonny Bill. That's right.
Okay, so I think what we've established here is that Lavina is throwing stones in her glass house because her Eels got eliminated, and she's trying to pull down everyone else's teams.
And I'm still waiting for the poem.
I tell you what, I don't want to sign Sonny Bill next year at the Eels. I'll tell you that much.
They probably will.
They probably will now.
Have him at the Warriors.
I did.
Mate.
I did
36
give.
years of age.
I did give Lavina the task of writing a poem just to sum up the Eels season, but she has since come forward and said that she couldn't get her mind into the right place to do it, which is fine. So let's quickly look ahead. Then Friday night, of course, Storm versus Raiders. How are we feeling in this one? Are we 50-50? Do we think the Raiders have got it in them, or are we just going to go ahead and say Storm, lock it in?
I'm saying Storm lock it in, 100%.
Aish?
Oh mate, what's the point of me saying it to you?
I know you're shit.
No, I said Storm Roosters the
Oh,
whole
there
way
he
for
goes.
the GF.
That's a get
No,
off the Storm.
I did say it. Storm Roosters GF the whole way.
Yeah.
Roosters are gone, as we know. Storm.
Locking the Raiders then, if you say Storm. Lavina, where's your money at?
I reckon the Raiders have a real good record against the Storm, and I don't know if that's just because of Bellamy and Stewart knowing each other so well. But I reckon the Raiders are coming good at this time of the year. I reckon they've got a great back line, and they've got a pack that move forward, and they've got a pack that literally overshadowed the Roosters in every aspect of the game of rugby league at the weekend. So if they've got enough time to get over injuries and niggles and soreness, and if they can put their best foot forward, I'd be really pleased if they can play their best game. I'm going to tip the Raiders this week.
And
I'm
it was-
hoping they make it through to the grand final.
And it was this game last year that the Raiders upset them in Melbourne and went through to the GF.
did.
So a bit of history
Exactly
there.
the same time.
Bit of history there. All right, so I'll go with you, Lavina, and I'll back the Raiders. So it's 2-2.
Oh, they're going against you, mate. They're going against you.
Okay, and Saturday's game, 9:50 p.m. Saturday evening, New Zealand time. Panthers, Rabbitohs. I feel like this is the game where they rack up 780 points, 50 tackles. It's going to be a monster. Where's our money at from starting with you, Kempy?
I'm going South.
Any
I think
particular reason why?
I think Kikau's too big a loss for Penrith. I think he's he's a superstar that they breed confidence from, and with him out of the side, I don't see them having a left edge. You got to remember he's next to Crichton. You know what I mean? He's Cleary goes to him all the time. Luai's there, goes to him all the time, mate. They've got no kick out. What are they going to do? Put a background that can do what he does? I think that's a big loss. So, and I just think Souths are still on the way up, mate. They're going to score 30. It's just whether Penrith can score 30 without kick out.
Gee, where are you at, Ash?
I've tipped against Penrith all year, so I'm going to stick to it and tip against them again. Let's go, the Bunnies! Glory, glory to South Sydney.
Lavina.
Well, I like the Bunnies, and I know they can score points, but there's no way that they're going to beat the Panthers this week. The Panthers have had grand final all over them. They finished as the minor premiers. They've got very few injuries, and I agree, Kikau is a massive loss, but I think they'll rally and be
Have
able to
we got
overcome
Levine's
that.
husband's phone
Yeah.
number? Because we should really give him a phone call and get him to take the credit
He doesn't
cards
even
off
follow
Lavina.
rugby league, mate. He doesn't even follow.
I'm not worried about the
You
rugby
wouldn't even
league.
know
I'm
if
worried
it's in
about the credit
final.
cards.
I'm with you, Lavina. Locking the Panthers from me as well. Whatever Ash is
Panthers will
taking.
go through to the grand final.
My theorem is a little different. I could sum up both teams.
Fair weather betters,
I'm
these
just
fellas.
all I'm seeing right now is Ashford and his backing and just going, no, I'm with you, Lavina.
But
Let's go.
Kempy's back. I'm following Kempy.
That's
And
right.
also, I think it was Tony Camp you said there's not a team outside of the top 4 that is going to get into a grand final. You've changed your tune on that.
Well, and that was
Hey?
with a full team on the football field.
Oh, now there's
kick out.
injuries,
Okay.
Lavina.
Yeah,
now there's
that's
injuries.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
All right.
You've been
There they
watching
all
too
come.
much Trumpism, you, Lavina.
Bang, bang.
You're a conspiracy
I'm just
theorist.
Bitter. I'm just bitter. All right.
All right, just to finish the show off, because it is that time, I just wanted to say Gerard Beale, what a great career he's had. I have enjoyed watching him play. Announced his retirement yesterday on Instagram. Favourite memory of Gerard Beale doesn't actually come off the rugby league field. It's actually met him at a social event and spent some time. We were, when you go to a social event and you really don't want to be there because there's a lot of people you don't want to be talking to. You just want to disappear into the corner.
Yeah.
That's where I saw Billy,
Yeah.
and the two of us just hung out for that whole night, and it was a really enjoyable time. But what a career, what a stellar career. Anyone else want to put any of their 5 cents worth in?
Mate, he's,
I'd like to say just quickly, if that's okay, that I've interviewed him on several occasions, and he's not just a smart man and articulate in his delivery. He's very kind and he's very nice, and he never treated me like a female reporter that has never played the game. She doesn't know what she's talking about. He always treated me with the utmost respect, and I thought he's one of the good guys, that Gerard Beale. He's a really, really decent fella. So
With gorgeous
in terms
eyes
of
too.
professionalism, I really, really liked interviewing him. He always gave me the time of day, and he also was one of those rugby league players that didn't bring the game into disrepute. He's a good guy. I really liked him and have a lot of respect for Mr. Beale.
yeah, mate, he is one of the good guys. He's great bloke, legend of a bloke. He actually took my position at 2 clubs, but I still love him. He come and replaced me.
Hate him. I hate him.
Nah, mate, he's
Gone.
we get along well. Me and Billy played together, like I said, at 2 clubs, and been with him for about 6 or 7 years of my career. So to see what he's gone through as well when he first signed with the Warriors
totally.
and come back, and what he's done for rugby league to start at such a young age, play for the Kiwis, play for his country, stand-up guy, stand-up player. Can't say anything better about him.
Yeah, well, obviously had I've known Billy since he was at the Broncos and playing with the Kiwis, so stellar career. I was at 12 years, so not many blokes get to play that. There's a number of players that are retiring this year. I look, Bleary stepping down. I think Bully Luke's probably got to announce his retirement. That era of player that's come and gone. I think they all need everyone to take their head off to them at the end of the year. So that's just life. It comes to an end, and they're going to look back and go, geez, I had a good time when I did that. So well done, fellas. Thanks a lot for the memories.
Totally, Billy. There it is. Take that put it in a package and open it up in 10 years' time. Tony Kemp. That's just life. Thank you all for joining us,
That's
and we'll see you all again next week.